Welcome, miniature fans, to issue 4 of Warhammer Age of Sigmar Stormbringer. Now, this week we are not doing any painting. This week's magazine came with these little paint pots here. Now, I don't actually use the pots of paint from Games Workshop. I've been using MSP Paints, Vallejo and Army Painter. The only paints I really use from Games Workshop are the ink washers. Now, so what I'm going to do today is I'm going to talk about alternative paints. There's nothing wrong at all with these paints, but I'm going to talk about the alternative paints you can use with your miniatures for painting your Games Workshop miniatures. Okay, so my favourite paints are from a company called Reaper Miniatures. They are called MSP Paints. This is two examples. These are the same colours that we've got roughly from the colours from our paints today from the magazine. Now, this one I got here is called Blade Steel against the Games Workshop colour here, and we've also got the gold, and we've got some dragon gold as well from MSP Paints. Now, the reason why I like these paints a little bit more is because you can use them directly from the bottle. They're also in a dropper bottle, which means I can put them onto my palette. Nice, very simple to do, and they're easy to use. Now, this is something I would highly recommend you do with your Games Workshop pots, and I'll tell you why. Because what happens is 99% of you will open your pot like so, giving it a good shake of course, and then you'll leave your pot out and you'll paint directly from the pot like this. Now, what's happening is that the air is hitting the paint, so which means it's going to dry a lot quicker, it's going to go lumpy, and the moisture inside will slowly evaporate, which halves the time of your paint. It makes the paint go hard. So I highly recommend you can actually buy these little dropper bottles. You can find them on eBay, any model shop, and what you can do is you can transfer the paint from these little pots and put them into these little dropper bottles, and that's exactly what I'm going to do with my Games Workshop paints. I'm going to transfer them into these little dropper bottles, and that way you got more control of your paint. You only put out the paint you need on your little palette and you're good to go. But there's nothing wrong with these paints. What you do have to do with Games Workshop paints though is they do need to be watered down. It's very true what they say about painting with Games Workshop paints. It's like 2 or 3 coats for your primer, and with these paints I'm using from MSP, I don't need to do that. I can just, what I do, I'll give my coat a coat of primer, white, black, brown, etc., and then I'll just go over with my paint, and I don't need to water it down, which you do with the Games Workshop paints. Now, the Games Workshop paints are absolutely fantastic. I have been painting since the 80s with them, and I love them to bits. I'm just trying to give you options or alternatives that you can use. Also, these are a little bit cheaper in Games Workshop paints as well as, and the same goes with Army Painter. You've got the Army Painter collection of paints, Vallejo paints. They're all in dropper bottles and all absolutely fantastic paints to use. Okay, so moving on to the starter brush that comes with our magazine. Now, the starter brush that comes with the magazine is actually very nice, but it is a starter brush, so you will be looking for another set. So what I'm going to do is I am going to show you 2 sets that I would highly recommend as a beginner to the painting, or even if you're a veteran as well. And the 2 sets that I always buy, and I think they're absolutely fantastic. So we're going to take a look at these right now. Here we have the Army Painter Most Wanted brush set. Now, this is an absolutely perfect starter set, and it just takes you above the level of what you're getting with the brush with the magazine. Now, this actual paint set, you're looking between £15 to £18 on the internet to buy this little paint set, but what you're getting is you're getting a detail brush, you get a regiment brush and a small dry brush, so you're getting the 3 perfect brushes to start with your painting. Now of course the magazine, you're going to get more brushes in the future, but again I'm just trying to give you alternatives that I highly recommend. Now what I love about the Army Painter brushes is they have a very nice handle. Now I've got quite big hands, so with those stems I can really get a good feel and grip to those brushes. So highly recommended these brushes for you to paint your miniatures with. Okay, another set I highly recommend is from Green Stuff World. As you can see, these are out of stock already. This is from Wayland Games in the UK. You can buy this set from, but you can actually get them directly from Green Stuff World as well. And the price is only between £12 and £15, and you're getting 4 brushes in sizes 000, 1 and 2. Now these are perfect sized paintbrushes for all your miniature painting. That doesn't come with a dry brush, but for that price, highly recommended. I have got these brushes and I think they're absolutely fantastic. So they are 2 sets that are very cheap to buy, but they'll do the job, and they're a very good quality brush. So just to round off this little episode, any acrylic paints are going to work well with your Games Workshop miniatures, but mainly as long as you've got that primer coat going, you can do whatever you want with your paints. It's everybody has their own opinions on how they should paint and how to use the paint. What you have to do is you need to just feel comfortable in what you're using, and if you're happy with the way you paint, if you're happy with how things are, then don't change, because at the end of the day it's a hobby and it's there to be enjoyed no matter what you do. So until next time.